Jürgen Sangl was so nice, Autohaus Sangl here in Landsberg am Lech, to give me this car to test it out for a few hours. So check him out, link is in the description below, he's awesome. Hello everyone and thanks for hanging out with me. I have the Ioniq 6 here, rear wheel drive, and I'm doing a charging test. I just did a range test and I drove it down to 13%, and now here at Ioniq I will charge it. I don't know if the battery is warm. I didn't navigate to this charger so that the car will preheat it. First of all, it would ruin my range test because there's consumption that's not there if you are not preheating the battery, and the navigation didn't know that Ioniq charger here, even though this charger is here for years. Now I am at home and I analyzed the whole charging session. So I filmed the whole charging session with a time lapse, and then I put the graph into a data sheet. And important here is this. So Ioniq 5, Ioniq 6 and Kia EV6 have now a battery preheating, like I said before. So when you navigate to a charger, it preheats the battery, I think with 4 kilowatt. So you get the perfect charging power, because I noticed with the Kia EV6 that this is really necessary. I did 130 kilometers an hour range test with it in November. And it was 2 to 5 degrees, so it wasn't warm, but it was also not freezing. And I got great charging, don't get me wrong, but not the charging curve that the Kia EV6 can do when the battery is warm. And the main reason for this is not that the consumption is so low and the battery doesn't get warm or something. The big part is that the heating of the cabin takes the excessive heat, or the heat that produced in the battery and the motor, which is awesome for consumption, but it decreases the temperature of the battery when you do a long distance trip. And then you don't get the charging power that the Kia EV6, for example, and Ioniq 5, Ioniq 6 can get. So my question was, will the Ioniq 6, in those temperatures and with the speed that I was driving 160 kilometers back with mostly 140 kilometers an hour, and a few times I was accelerating a bit more. I was driving top speed and I accelerated a few times. I wasn't trying to heat up the battery excessively, but I also wasn't just driving constant speed 130 and nothing is needed, no power from the battery or no regen and stuff. So there was driving involved, but I think this is a normal highway driving as you would do in Germany. You don't do that in other countries, but you do accelerate and slow down. So my question was, at those temperatures, I don't know what the temperatures exactly was, I put it here, did it preheat the battery enough so we don't need artificial preheating, extra preheating? So let's look at the charging screen and we'll find out. And there it is at Ioniq, and it has to communicate with the charger, of course, and we go up to 120 kilowatt at 15%. I started at 13, and what I noticed that we have 730 volt, which is way higher than in the Ioniq 5, and there we go up at 27% to 200 kilowatt, and not to the 239 kilowatt that a warm battery could do. So it is not warm enough, but we still get now 150. So from 130 up to 200, back to 150. Then it goes down to 130 at around 60%. Voltage is still increasing and it will go up above 800 volt. And I looked in the Ioniq 5, it was 750 volt at peak. And now we are above 800 volt at 77%. And it went down charging power again to 130 kilowatts. So even though, we'll see it in the charging curve, even though this battery was not optimal temperature for the perfect charging, where, for example, Hyundai says from 10 to 80% in 18 minutes. Here it was, I think, 22 minutes or so. No, 24 minutes from 13 to 80%. Still amazing charging power. Here we have the whole charging session now as a graph. As we have seen, goes right up to 120 kilowatt, then to around 125, and then this peak we have 150, and then the peak from 29% to around 33%, 201 kilowatt, back down to 150, a bit up and down, and then 154, it goes back down to 130, and then at the end 74% to 77%, again up to 156. So really great. And now let's compare it to the Ioniq 5 that I tested 2 years ago. And as you can see, except for those weird little things here in the middle, and I've been told that has to do with battery cooling because of the high charging power, then the battery has to be cooled and it takes away a bit from the charging. We get up to 185 kilowatt right away, and then up to the peak, which was 223 kilowatt. And then we have this, like I said, this little spikes here. But then here at the end out, it's still above 150 kilowatt. And then we have at around 77 kilowatt, it goes steadily down to 21 kilowatt at 99%. But you can see the difference between a warm battery and a cold battery. So if those little spikes here wouldn't be, Ioniq 5 charging curve where the battery was warm, and it wasn't warm on that day, but it was raining like crazy, and the Ioniq 5 on this test had a consumption of 310 watt hours per kilometer, so a lot of power for 2 hours. And that made the battery warm enough to be higher as here the Ioniq 5. By the way, yeah, Ioniq 5 is of course here in red, Ioniq 6, and Ioniq 5 is here in blue. But I also wanted to compare the Ioniq 6, Ioniq 5 charging curve to other cars, and I have in here in this graph I have the ID Bus, which is the best charging battery of the MEB platform, and I have the BMW iX M50 with the over 100 kilowatt, I think 107 or 105 kilowatt hour battery. And you can see the ID Bus is here in yellow, and except for in the beginning where it goes up to 186 kilowatt, it's always under even the Ioniq 6 and of course under the Ioniq 5, except for the Ioniq 5 here above 85%, and then no one cares. But it's also a 400 volt system, it's not an 800 volt system like in the platform of Hyundai and Kia. And the BMW iX50 is here in green, and it goes up to almost 200 kilowatt, 197, and as you can see, it's up to 48%. It's mostly above the Ioniq 6, so with the cold battery, but with the warm battery it's almost similar here to the Ioniq 5, and then Ioniq 5 is just higher and stays above. So the 800 volt system is killer when it comes to charging. I have no idea how good it is for the battery, but I'm guessing double the voltage, so less amps. If you can see those curves, it's not double, but you have double the voltage, so less amps should be less heat. I think so. But yes, and you have to think Ioniq 5 had a bit of a high consumption, but Ioniq 6 has amazing consumption. So with the same charging curve as the Ioniq 5, long distance travel is amazing. You charge it not even 10 minutes and you go on for another 200 kilometers to the next charger. Maybe even you charge for 20 minutes and you forget about a charger in the middle and go to the next charger. So wow, impressive, very impressive. Hyundai and Kia did something great with this battery and with this car. It's the perfect mix from charging to consumption. It's really a great long distance driving car, and I hope I get a press car at some point so I can test it out. So Hyundai, you know what to do. But that's it for me. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day and take care. Bye.